What have you got? You got a book? Can I have it? Can I have it? Thank you, Sheila. You're a good girl feeding your babies, aren't you? Good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Millie's Mind. A Peek Inside Autism by Colin and Millie Armstrong. Thank you, Sheila.
Hello all, it's Ruthie with Ruthie Reviews. Today I have a very important book that I'm extremely excited to show you. I found this on Instagram and had to buy it immediately. It's called Millie's Mind and it is written by Colin Armstrong and his daughter Millie. It's illustrated by Joe McGivern and it's A Peek Inside Autism. This is a really, really beautiful book. I think the introduction explains what the book is about the best. So I'm just going to read the introduction to you because I really don't think I can sum up what's in the book better than the introduction to the book can sum it up. So it says, "Much love to you who have just opened this book. Great to meet you. We've met so many wonderful people like you on our autism journey. And the people who already love us seem to love us even more as we move befuddled but beaming through this life. It's arresting. If we could climb back through time to the beginning, we'd grin at the thought of the autistic joy to come. We'd mourn it now if it weren't for the knowledge of how much more there is to come. To our family members, friends, and professionals, including the fabulous folk at the Newtown Public School and Aspect School, thank you for your indeflatable support and inexhaustible, inspiration. Mum and Dad, Grandma and Granddad, Wendy, Scott, Chris, lucent love always. Special thanks to Chloe Owen for her beautiful forward and to Tony Atwood for his wonderful book back cover endorsement. And also to Michaelia Rafferty, who expertly guided and supported us with vim and tenacity through Millie's earlier years. Thank you for all the work you do and the difference you make. And we have sculpted this oeuvre, probably saying that wrong, with passion and love and dedicated to all who understand that autism is to be celebrated and cherished, especially of course to Melissa, Millie's amazing warrior mum, and to Avi, Millie's kind and big-hearted older brother. Avi, big, brilliant and beautiful, who has supported Millie the most, our hearts. The world has come so far in understanding autism, yet it feels as if we are still not close to fully embracing this beautiful neurodivergence and creating a society made all the more vibrant, loving, creative, and enriched by it. Let's keep talking." It's really quite beautiful. And then a note from Millie's dad, which I think is also important to hear. Obviously, I'm not going to read the whole book because what I really want, and I say this with every book I review, but I really mean it with this one. What I really, really want is for you to actually go and buy the book because I think this is probably the most important book I've read all year. And I think this is the sort of book I really want to see in circulation. That's why I'm reviewing it, because I believe in the message so much. But I think it is important to read the note from Millie's dad. It certainly moved me. I think it'll probably move you as well. A note from Millie's dad. These are mostly, that's in brackets, I think that's rather cute, mostly Dad's words in this book. This book is written from the perspective of my beautiful neurodivergent 11-year-old daughter Millie. Millie has childhood apraxia of speech, which is a neurological condition characterized by difficulties pronouncing multi-syllable forms and difficulties and inconsistencies with certain sounds. Millie's ability to understand language, receptive language, is much greater than her ability to express language, expressive language. In other words, Millie knows what she wants to say, but on execution, her words may come out distorted, missing or jumbled up. To those who don't know Millie, her expressive language can sometimes be difficult to understand. She is currently unable to write. To make our book accessible and engaging for the audience, it has been written as if Millie did not have apraxia of speech, as if her words came out in the correct order and weren't distorted or missing. By the way, if I mispronounce names or words in here that I haven't come across before, I'm really sorry. I don't like doing that with someone's name or someone's writing, but sometimes I do struggle with pronunciation. And I feel that the book is so important, and what Mr. Armstrong has to say about the book and Millie is so important that I really think I need to read it, regardless of the mess I make of it. So I do apologise. I'm doing the best I can. I even looked up some of the words to learn how to pronounce them before I read it. It doesn't seem to have helped that much. But that's my fault, not the book's. To make our book accessible and engaging for the audience, it has been written as if Millie did not have apraxia of speech, as if her words came out in the correct order and weren't distorted I'm going to say muddled. I don't know why I can't say that word. Sorry, muddled or missing. I used my words and language to reflect as accurately as I possibly can Millie's words, sentences, experience and views. The adjectives I use and the way I describe events are based on how Millie describes them and the words she herself uses in her way of talking. Also, I recount events in the book that Millie does and what happens to Millie exactly as they occurred. None of this is fiction. Where there are speech marks where Millie talks, I use her exact words. I think I have captured Millie's voice and spirit as best I can. This is a portrait of Millie through her eyes. It tells her story. Terminology and language considerations. In this book, Millie is described as being autistic, but also as having autism. We use both terms to describe Millie at home and in our everyday lives. As yet, Millie doesn't have a preference either way. We know some people prefer to use one term over the other, and we mean no offence to anyone by using both terms in this book. If Millie gets older, if she starts to prefer a certain term, we'll use that. As a parent of a neurodivergent child, I know how important it is to understand and respect the views and preferences of all individuals and to celebrate and support neurodiversity in all its beautiful forms, and how important it is to be kind. Thank you for reading. Here's a picture of Millie. I really like that. Now, as I say, I'm not going to read the book because I really, really do want people to go and buy this book. But it is written in rhyme. It is really beautiful. One of the things I really appreciated about this book is that, you know, guys, sometimes you can get a book that has a really important message, but it's not actually well written. This book has a really important message and it is also extremely well written. It's quite clever, actually. It's written in rhyme, but the rhyme is interrupted by the voice of Millie. I think it's really clever. I've never seen that done in a book before, but I really enjoyed it. And I was so happy it was well written because it's such an important book. And it's really important that books of this significance are well written, you know. So it's beautiful. It is long for a picture book, but the thing with this is a picture book that imparts a lot of knowledge. If I was a mum, I would definitely read this book to my children because there's a lot of autism out there, and well, I have a personal reason for really liking this book, and there is actually a very deep reason I actually brought this book which I think I'll tell you about. So many years ago, when I was still living in my native habitat of New Zealand, I worked for the New Zealand government teaching English as a second language. And I'm still not quite sure how I got that job, really. I turned up to volunteer because I had lived abroad myself, and I had noticed what a difference people being kind to me in their country made to me, and I wanted to be kind to strangers in my own country. So I started volunteering as an English teacher, and one thing led to another, and I ended up as the head teacher of the school for a brief period of time. One of the things I learnt in that job is that when you are dealing with people who have a different way of viewing the world and a different form of communication, in this case a different language, but in the case of the book a different way of putting words together, I discovered that a kind heart and good intentions is not actually adequate to do the job properly. But what I also learned is a kind heart and good intentions will lead you to the right place, which is to do research, and it's to study, and it's to inform yourself. And that, I think, is a really beautiful thing. When you have a kind heart and you have empathy and you love people, and in addition to that love you add study and you read books like Millie's Mind, that I think becomes a very, very powerful thing. And we live in a very dark world. We live in a world where there's a lot of unkindness, and there's a lot of judgment, and there's a lot of rejecting people for not being quote unquote normal. And one of the things I really believe we can do in this dark world is we can turn our homes, we can turn them into sources of light, and we can turn them into lamps. It's why I say repeatedly, if the world turns dark, turn your home into a lamp. And one of the ways that I believe we can turn our homes into lamps when the world turns dark is we can read books like Millie's Mind, which gives us understanding on an issue like autism, and is it speech apraxia? I think I'm probably saying that wrong. We'll just check. Apraxia of speech. When we read books like this, whether we know someone on the autism spectrum currently or not isn't really the issue, because when we read a book like this, what it does is it increases our power to be kind. Because what I learnt as an English teacher is I could have the best intentions in the world, and obviously I did have a kind heart, because that's why I got the job. I started off as a volunteer. I really cared about people coming into New Zealand. I wanted them to feel at home and adjust. But I made many mistakes as an English teacher because I was very young, and I didn't realise that a kind heart isn't actually enough to get the job done. But what I learned through that job is I learned that if you do have a kind heart and you do care about people, there is a solution, and the solution is study. So to all who wish to understand people more, to all who wish to add to their natural empathy and kindness knowledge, to all who have a heart for people who are neurodivergent, I recommend Millie's Mind. It is a beautiful, beautiful, very, very important book, and I'm so glad I bought it, and I strongly recommend it to anyone, whether you know someone on the spectrum or you don't, because like I learned as an English teacher, good intentions, they're not enough, but they're also the best place to start, because if you have good intentions, eventually it will lead you to books like this. And when you combine kindness and empathy with reading a book of this caliber, oh my goodness, you guys, we need people like that in this world. We need people like that. So if you have a kind heart and you're full of empathy and you're always on the lookout to find a way to make yourself more capable of serving your fellow human with love, I really recommend Millie's Mind, written by Colin Armstrong and his daughter Millie. And it is beautifully illustrated, so I'm just now going to move the camera across and let you look at the inside of the book. So here we have the cover and the back of it. So cute. I
I really like the end pages on this book. I think they're adorable. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Of course, pink is my favourite colour, so I may be a little bit biased, but that's okay. So cute. I think the pictures are perfect for this book because they're not overly stimulating, they're not garish, and given that the book is probably going to be read by children trying to understand themselves, and one of the things the book talks about is the struggle of becoming overstimulated, and the fact the overall book is so sensitive and well thought out, I would imagine that's a very deliberate move. Just an incredibly well thought out book. Excellent writing. Excellent rhythm. That's probably my favourite picture, actually. I just think it's charming. So that is Millie's Mind, written by Colin Armstrong and Millie, illustrated by Joe McGivern. And I will try and put links to the author and illustrator below this video if I can track them down. I got the book from Amazon, but I imagine you can get it wherever good books are sold. Also, do consider asking your local library to order it in, because this is a treasure, and the more we can get this book into circulation, the more kindness and understanding we're putting into circulation, and I think that's a really wonderful thing. I am so glad I brought this book. I highly recommend it. It is a beautiful book. It is a meaningful book. It is a book to increase wisdom to the kind-hearted. So if you're already kind-hearted, this book will increase wisdom. So I highly recommend it. I'm so glad I brought it. I think if you buy it, you'll be glad too. And consider asking your library to get it in. And yes, I shall talk to you next time. This has been Ruthie with Ruthie Reviews. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.